From the Fort St. John North Peace Museum on the line with me. How's it going today, Heather?
Good, you?
I'm doing very well. Thank you very much. You're here to talk about the first cemetery tour of the season, this very popular event that you kind of host over the summer months, having people out to learn history about some of the people who are buried in some of the local cemeteries, I suppose. Tell us all about this first one, Heather.
So this one is our Alaska Highway Cemetery tour. So it's one we gave a rest to last summer,
Mm-hmm.
but it's back this year. And it's really an interesting tour where you learn about a whole bunch of different connections that people who are buried in our main cemetery on 100th Ave have to the Alaska Highway. So some
Mm-hmm.
of them are entrepreneurs, some of them are like worked on the highway in the construction or later in maintenance. And so there's a whole bunch of different connections, both men and women.
I see. Now, is it this specific cemetery because there happens to be that happens to be where the people who have these connections to the Alaska Highway all happen to be for some reason, or is that just kind of
That's a really interesting story.
yeah?
Uh,
Okay.
and there are good connections in both our main cemetery and in Woodlawn.
Yeah.
And when we chose to do an Alaska Highway Cemetery tour back in 2017 for the 75th anniversary of the highway, we just chose this one thinking there'd be more people. And then we started thinking, well, wait, like Duncan Cran and Rudy Schubert and people are buried in Woodlawn and not here. And
Hmm.
so for a little bit there, we were kind of stuck. Who do we do? We knew some people, and then we started to uncover some really great stories, and that's why this tour is one of my favorites.
Yeah, and the tour itself, if no one's ever been on a cemetery tour hosted by you guys, give us the lay of the land of sort of how it goes. What kind of happens on the tour, and what do you talk about?
Right, so we just meet around the gate of the cemetery. So most people park near the Roman Catholic Church, and then it's $10 at the gate.
Hmm.
And then we'll divide you into two groups. You can choose which tour guide you go with. I'll be leading one tour, and Larry Evans will be leading the other. And then we talk a bit about the history of the Alaska Highway, just to give you some context, and then we go through the cemetery and stand by people's graves and tell stories about their connections to the highway. Some of the stories are funny, some of them are sad, but it is not a scary or a haunted tour.
I see. Okay, and then as you say, this one specifically, it's kind of got the theme of connections to the Alaska Highway, but I suppose in general, some of these people are really. Given that they have this connection to the Alaska Highway, like founders and real builders of our community, and as you say, sort of build the fabric of the story of Fort St. John in a lot of ways, eh?
Yeah, so there's people with very recognizable names like Ma Murray, who came up to start the Alaska Highway News shortly after the highway's built.
Hmm.
There's Dr. Kearney and his work treating a lot of the soldiers who came up to work on the Alaska Highway here in Fort St. John. And there's a whole bunch of different connections. We've got ambulance drivers like Ernie Carriere. We've got people who were injured and treated in this area. And we've got people working on road maintenance or who sold goods like parkas to the soldiers who came up.
Hmm. And how kid friendly would you say this is? I suppose any kid who's just really interested in history would probably enjoy this.
We have had some kind of younger kids, about 7 or 8. It probably is most interesting for kids like 10 and up.
Hmm.
But some of them get some things out of it, and sometimes we can put them to work helping us pull flags out of the areas that we've marked off so we know where to go in the cemetery.
Gotcha. Put them to work while they're there, I guess, eh? Okay. Do you have to pre-register for this event, or you can just show up with your $10 in cash?
You do not. Just show up with your $10 in cash. We try and go in any type of weather, unless, of course, it's quite dangerous, like
Yeah.
thunderstorms, in which case we'll have to postpone or do an inside presentation instead.
All right, and I believe May 27th at 7 p.m. at the main cemetery on 100th Ave there by the Catholic Church is when it's all going down this time, Heather?
That's right. Yep.
All right. Now, if you want more info, they do have a nice little poster up on the page at fsjmuseum.com. Anything else you want to say before I let you go, Heather?
I thought I'd mention our other cemetery tours coming up. We've got a revised version of our original cemetery tour at the main cemetery on 100th Ave on Thursday, June 12th. So we've made some changes, some additions and so on. And then on Wednesday, June 25th, our Women of Woodlawn tour, which we had done last summer, is back. And then we have a brand new tour I'll be back to talk about at some point in August. And that's going to be a daytime tour on August 23rd at Cecil Lake. That'll be a brand new one.
Okay, very cool. I love that there's a new one in addition this year. Of course, you can always follow the Fort St. John North Peace Museum on Facebook to keep up on all these tours, which, as Heather said, she'll be back to talk about. But this Tuesday, May 27th at 7 p.m., check out the Alaska Highway Cemetery Tour. Heather, thanks for joining us and talking to us about this today.
Thanks for having me.
This community interview is supported by your Member of Parliament, Bob Zimmer. Stop by his office in Fort St. John at 9916 100th Avenue and in Dawson Creek at 101.